The unexpected arrival. The peaceful hum of the galaxy was about to be broken by an event no one saw coming. Across the stars, countless civilizations lived in their own worlds, managing their empires and handling their troubles. Earth, a small blue planet in the far corner of the Milky Way, was one of those forgotten worlds. To the great powers of the galaxy, humanity was nothing more than a speck of dust. But that was about to change. It all started with a strange signal. It wasn't just any ordinary transmission. It was something that carried a different frequency, something alien and powerful. The signal came from Earth, a planet that was not known for having anything remarkable. But the aliens who received the signal didn't understand it. They only knew one thing. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Across the galaxy, the most feared and powerful species took notice. The Ksharn, a ruthless, warlike race of advanced beings who controlled vast portions of space, immediately set their sights on Earth. They were known for wiping out civilizations that posed even the smallest threat to their power. To them, Earth was an unknown, a potential danger that had to be neutralized before it could become a real problem. The Ksharn didn't waste time. Their fleet, made up of massive warships, traveled across the galaxy with terrifying speed, aiming straight for Earth. For them, this would be an easy mission. Their advanced technology had never failed them before. They believed they were invincible. They thought that taking control of Earth would be no different from crushing any other civilization they had defeated before. Back on Earth, life continued as usual. People went about their daily routines, unaware of the cosmic threat heading their way. Scientists noticed a strange anomaly in the sky, but no one could figure out what it meant. There were whispers about possible alien signals, but nothing serious. The governments of Earth were more concerned with their own internal issues than with anything beyond their planet. But things were about to change quickly. The first sign that something was wrong came when the skies above Earth began to glow with an eerie red light. A ripple in space-time, a distortion so intense it could be seen with the naked eye, appeared over major cities. The planet's defense systems went on high alert. Military satellites, originally designed to monitor Earth's own skies, began detecting something that they couldn't explain. There was an object moving at unimaginable speeds toward Earth. It was too fast, too big, and it was getting closer. The United Nations immediately called an emergency meeting. The most powerful nations on Earth gathered to discuss what they had just witnessed. No one knew what the strange object was or where it came from. Panic started to spread across the planet. The people of Earth were terrified. The news stations were flooded with reports of the glowing red anomaly, and military forces scrambled to prepare for the worst. But the leaders of Earth were in a state of confusion. This wasn't the type of enemy they had ever prepared for. Their technology was advanced, but compared to the mysterious object in the sky, they were like children with toys. There were no signs of a traditional invasion, no spaceships landing, no ground forces gathering, just the eerie, looming presence of something far beyond human understanding. As the object grew closer, the alien fleet arrived in full force. Thousands of massive warships, dark and menacing, appeared on the edge of the solar system. These ships were unlike anything the human military had ever seen. They were enormous, capable of destroying entire planets with a single shot. The Ksharn fleet had arrived, and they were ready to conquer. From the bridge of the lead Ksharn ship, Commander Zoran surveyed Earth through his ship's vast view screen. He was an imposing figure, tall and strong, with a deep voice that carried an air of command. He had led many successful campaigns across the galaxy, leaving worlds in ruin in his wake. Yet something about this mission felt different. Earth was strange, and the signal that brought him here was unsettling. Zoran knew one thing for sure. Earth had to be dealt with swiftly. The Ksharn didn't take chances. His orders were clear: neutralize the threat and establish control over this insignificant planet. The other species in the galaxy might have been cautious, but the Ksharn were not afraid. They had been the rulers of the galaxy for centuries, and they believed no force could stop them. Back on Earth, military leaders scrambled to make sense of the situation. The world's most powerful nations had only a few hours to decide how to respond to the alien threat. They had no idea what kind of weapons these invaders had, or even how many of them there were. But they knew one thing: Earth had to fight back. They had no other choice. In a last-ditch effort, the world's leaders decided to reveal humanity's greatest weapon, an ancient technology buried deep within Earth's history. The details of this weapon had been hidden for centuries, passed down through secret generations. Now, the time had come to use it. But what the aliens didn't know was that humanity had one advantage they hadn't counted on. Humans had the ability to adapt and fight with a strength and resilience no other species had ever seen. The Ksharn had underestimated Earth, believing its people to be weak. But as the ships continued their descent toward Earth, the humans prepared for battle. The stage was set for a conflict that would change the fate of the galaxy. No one knew how it would end, but one thing was clear: Earth was not going down without a fight. And the Ksharn would soon learn that humanity's strength could not be measured by technology alone. The unexpected arrival of the Ksharn was just the beginning. What would happen next would shock the entire galaxy, and the fate of Earth would depend on a single truth: humanity was not as helpless as they had thought. Earth's last stand. The clock was ticking. As the Ksharn fleet loomed closer to Earth, every military leader on the planet was frantically working behind closed doors, trying to come up with a plan. The world had never faced anything like this before. No alien invasion, no galactic empire had ever targeted Earth with such overwhelming force. This was not just a war, it was an extinction-level event. Commander Zoran and his fleet watched from space as Earth's cities prepared for an onslaught they couldn't possibly be ready for. The Ksharn had seen many civilizations crumble under their might, but they had underestimated the humanity they were about to encounter. It was a mistake they would soon regret. Zoran's ship was the largest of the fleet, towering in size over the other warships, its weapons capable of erasing entire cities from existence with a single pulse. Back on Earth, the world's defense systems went into overdrive. The United Nations had united the military forces of every country under one banner, and Earth's best minds came together in a desperate attempt to figure out how to defend against the alien threat. They had no idea how advanced the Ksharn were. The only thing they knew was that they had to find a way to fight back. In a secret underground facility, deep beneath the surface of the Earth, a small group of scientists and military leaders gathered around a large holographic table. They had discovered a long-forgotten piece of technology hidden for centuries, an ancient relic of humanity's past. The weapon, known only as Project Titan, was said to be powerful enough to fight off any enemy, but it was incomplete. It had been abandoned and forgotten long ago because no one could figure out how to activate it. Now, humanity had no choice but to unlock its secrets, even if it meant taking risks they didn't fully understand. The project had been a military experiment in the early days of Earth's space exploration, but it had been shut down when the technology seemed too dangerous. Titan was designed to harness the power of human will, a force that transcended conventional weapons. But it required the power of human emotion, creativity, and determination to bring it to life. Could it work? Would it be enough to stand against the overwhelming might of the Ksharn? There were no guarantees. The answer came in the form of one man, a soldier who had fought in every major conflict of Earth's modern history. His name was Captain James Caldwell. A decorated hero, Caldwell was known for his unshakable courage and indomitable will. He had seen things most soldiers couldn't even imagine and survived battles that would have broken others. His mind was sharp, and his resolve was unyielding. Captain Caldwell was chosen to lead Earth's final stand. It was a task no one else could handle. He was humanity's last hope. The fate of Earth rested on his shoulders, and the pressure was immense. But Caldwell didn't falter. He had always believed that humanity's strength lay in its ability to adapt and fight through any odds. He wasn't about to let the Ksharn take Earth without a fight. On the front lines, the first wave of Sharn ships arrived in the outer atmosphere. They were massive, each ship the size of a small city, and their weapons glowed with deadly energy. A fleet of fighter jets, humanity's fastest ships, launched from Earth's military bases. These pilots, skilled and brave, knew they were facing an impossible task. But they had no choice. The Sharn were here, and they had to try to stop them. Captain Caldwell was at the helm of one of the newest Earth warships, the Vanguard, the pinnacle of human engineering. Though it was no match for the colossal Sharn ships, it was humanity's most advanced vessel, equipped with everything they had to defend the planet. Its crew was ready for battle, determined to do whatever it took to protect their home. As the Sharn ships entered Earth's atmosphere, the battle began. The Vanguard and other Earth ships launched everything they had at the incoming fleet. The skies above Earth lit up with explosions as energy beams clashed. Missiles screamed through the air, and the sound of warfare echoed in every corner of the world. It was humanity's first true battle against a foe from the stars. Despite their efforts, the Sharn fleet moved forward relentlessly. They had advanced technology that humans couldn't even begin to understand. They were stronger, faster, and had weapons that Earth's forces were powerless against. The first wave of Earth fighters was obliterated in moments. The Vanguard fired its weapons at full power, but the Sharn shields absorbed the blasts without so much as a dent. Humans had underestimated their enemies. But Caldwell refused to give up. As the Vanguard took hits from the Sharn ships, he ordered the crew to push forward, to give everything they had to slow the invasion. He was a leader who didn't know how to surrender. The fate of Earth wasn't decided yet, and he wasn't going to let it go down without a fight. Then came the moment that would change everything. A group of scientists aboard Earth's most secret research facility had successfully activated Project Titan. The ancient weapon, still mysterious in its full capacity, suddenly came to life, powered by the willpower of the human heart. For the first time, humanity had unleashed something that could truly fight back. From the surface of Earth, a massive burst of energy erupted into space. The Project Titan weapon, a sphere of energy the size of a small moon, surged toward the Sharn fleet. It was humanity's last chance, and they had put everything into this weapon. As the energy blast struck the Sharn ships, the invaders were taken by surprise. Some ships were vaporized instantly, while others faltered. For the first time, humanity had shown that they were capable of standing up to the most terrifying force in the galaxy. It wasn't just a battle of weapons. It was a battle of will. The Sharn had underestimated the strength of humanity's spirit. They had made a grave mistake, and now Earth's fight for survival had only just begun. The battle had only started, but Commander Zoran knew that the course of the war had shifted forever. Earth's desperation had brought out something that Sharn had never encountered before, the unstoppable force of humanity's will to survive. The unexpected arrival of the Sharn had ignited a conflict that would echo through the galaxy. This was no longer just a battle for Earth's survival. It was a war that would shape the fate of the universe. And humanity, against all odds, was determined to win. The tide turns. The sudden emergence of Project Titan had caught the Sharn off guard. The massive surge of energy had torn through their ships, causing significant damage and shaking their confidence. For the first time since their arrival, the Sharn were uncertain. Commander Zoran, who had led countless conquests across the galaxy, stood at the helm of his flagship, watching Earth's forces fight back with unexpected ferocity. His once ironclad resolve was now clouded by the realization that humanity had something they hadn't anticipated: an unbreakable will. Zoran's ships had sustained heavy losses, but they were not finished yet. The Sharn were an ancient species, with technology far beyond what humanity could comprehend. They had seen civilizations rise and fall, and they knew how to adapt. They would strike again, harder this time, and they would make sure to crush this upstart species once and for all. On Earth, the celebration of the successful strike was brief. The victory from Project Titan had given humanity a small window of hope, but it was only a temporary reprieve. Caldwell knew that the fight was far from over. Earth's defense forces had taken down a few of the Ksharn ships, but the majority of their fleet still remained. They were massive, technologically superior, and relentless. In a war room deep beneath the Earth's surface, Commander Caldwell and his team of military strategists were hard at work. The room was dimly lit, with holographic projections of Earth's defenses and enemy positions scattered across the table. The soldiers had fought valiantly, but their numbers were dwindling, and the aliens showed no signs of slowing down. Caldwell clenched his fists. They had to find a way to strike back. "We've got one shot left," Caldwell said, his voice low but filled with determination. "If we don't make the most of this moment, we won't get another chance." Lieutenant Parker, Caldwell's second-in-command, studied the holographic display of Earth's defenses. "We have to use Titan again. The energy surge we saw was devastating, but we need to hit them harder, to force them into retreat. The problem is, we don't have enough power to replicate that kind of blast." Caldwell nodded. He knew the situation was dire. The planet was vulnerable, and Project Titan's weapon was their last hope, but it came with risks. It wasn't fully understood, and there was no guarantee that they could power it again to the same level of intensity. "We don't have a choice. Earth needs a victory to buy us more time." On the surface, Earth's population braced for the next attack. The news was filled with reports of the ongoing conflict, and military units around the world were on high alert. The skies had become a battleground, with fighter jets skimming the atmosphere, ready to engage the Ksharn at any moment. People everywhere could see the lights of battle in the distance as the conflict raged on. At the same time, Caldwell and his team worked tirelessly to find a solution. They had determined that to fully activate Project Titan again, they needed to harness the combined willpower of every human on Earth. They had to channel the energy of their entire species into the weapon. But how could they do that? How could they unify the planet's entire population in the face of an alien invasion? The answer came from an unexpected source: the global resistance. In every corner of the Earth, people had been preparing for this moment, training in secret, building their strength, their resolve. From the smallest villages to the largest cities, humanity had risen to the occasion. They had come together, despite their differences, to fight back against the alien threat. They had recognized the Ksharn as a common enemy, and now they were ready to use their collective willpower to take back their world. A broadcast was made across the globe, a simple message of unity and resolve. "We are humanity. We will not bow. We will not break. We fight for our home. We fight for each other. Together, we stand. Together, we are strong." The broadcast stirred something deep within every human. It wasn't just a call to arms. It was a call to the very essence of what it meant to be human, to fight, to endure, to survive against all odds. The will of billions of people, all connected by one purpose, surged through the Earth, and Project Titan began to hum with energy. In space, the Ksharn watched as Earth's power began to rise once more. They were preparing for their final strike, to annihilate the human race. But as the energy from Earth grew stronger, Zoran could feel the shift. Something had changed. There was something different about this species. The power from Project Titan surged outward, an unstoppable wave of energy that stretched across the sky. Caldwell, standing aboard the Vanguard, watched as the weapon activated. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. The energy blast streaked into space, growing in size, in power, and in intensity. It was the culmination of humanity's will, their survival instinct, their belief that they could overcome anything. The Ksharn fleet scattered as the blast struck their ships. Some were obliterated completely, while others were thrown off course. Zoran watched in disbelief as his fleet faltered. The Ksharn had never encountered anything like this before. It wasn't just about technology or firepower. It was the strength of humanity's spirit, something the Ksharn had underestimated. For the first time, the Ksharn fleet retreated. They weren't just being forced back, they were being driven away by the sheer power of human will. The invaders had learned a valuable lesson. Humanity was not a species to be underestimated, and as the remaining Ksharn ships fled back into the depths of space, Earth's defenses took a moment to breathe. The battle was far from over, but for the first time since the invasion began, humanity had scored a victory. It wasn't just a win for Earth, it was a statement to the galaxy. The Ksharn were not invincible. Humanity was not weak. They would fight for their survival with everything they had. As Commander Zoran surveyed the damage, he realized something that would haunt him for years to come. Humanity had become a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The reigniting spark. Commander Zoran's mind raced as he stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the chaotic retreat of the Ksharn fleet. His once unshakable confidence had been shattered by the unexpected resilience of humanity. Never before had a species faced such overwhelming odds, and yet still managed to push back with such raw power. The thought of what Earth's people had just achieved, a victory driven purely by willpower, was something Zoran could barely comprehend. He slammed his fist onto the console in frustration. "What are we facing here?" he muttered. The Ksharn had encountered countless races, destroyed entire worlds. But this was different. This was not a fight they could easily win. Zoran's thoughts were interrupted by the voice of his second-in-command, Shara. "Commander, we need to reassess our position. Earth's energy surge has destabilized our entire fleet. The loss of our capital ship has crippled our command structure." Zoran turned sharply. "Do we have any chance of countering this? Can we restore the fleet?" Shara hesitated. "It's possible to regroup, but their weapon is unlike anything we've encountered. Their will is a weapon itself." The word will lingered in Zoran's mind. The Ksharn had underestimated that very thing. They had placed all their trust in superior technology and strength, but the humans had shown them that determination, unity, and resilience were forces of their own. The commander knew they could not retreat indefinitely. They had underestimated humanity once, and it had cost them dearly. Back on Earth, the world was still in a state of shock. Humanity had just experienced its first victory in a galactic conflict, but Commander Caldwell and his team knew that the war was far from over. The battle may have shifted, but it had not been won outright. The Ksharn were far too powerful to be defeated with a single strike, and humanity was not naive enough to think their forces were now invincible. Caldwell stood at the center of a crowded operations room. His mind raced as he reviewed the data streaming in from various military outposts. "This is only the beginning," he said, his voice grave. "We have to prepare for what comes next. We need to be ready." Lieutenant Parker stepped forward, holding a tablet displaying the most recent analysis of the Ksharn forces. "Their fleet is pulling back, but they're not abandoning their mission. They're retooling, reconfiguring. Whatever they plan, it'll be worse than the last attack." "What do we have?" Caldwell asked, his eyes narrowing. "We've adapted quickly, but we'll need more time. We don't have their technology, but we've got our resourcefulness. We need to be ready to hit them harder when they come again." Caldwell nodded. The window of opportunity to strike again was closing, and they had no idea when the Ksharn might return in full force. But one thing was clear: the humans weren't going to go down without a fight. Days passed, and the world held its collective breath. People had seen their streets torn apart by the war, their skies burned by alien weapons. But now, there was hope. Project Titan had proven that humanity could make a difference in this fight, and with the energy from every individual on Earth, they had been able to deliver a blow to the Ksharn fleet that made the aliens reconsider their plans. But the recovery of the Ksharn forces was already underway. On the other side of the galaxy, Zoran convened with his top strategists, watching the digital maps as they reformed and reconstituted his forces. Despite their losses, the Ksharn were relentless. The military minds of the Empire had already devised a new strategy, one that would exploit humanity's weakness, their emotions, their unpredictability. "We cannot fight them directly with sheer force alone," Zoran declared, his voice heavy with the weight of his failure. "We must strike at what makes them human, their connection to each other. If we can sever their unity, we can break them. We'll attack their weakest points, their homes, their hearts." Shara looked at him with a mixture of admiration and concern. "But this will provoke them even further. Their spirit, their will, it's the one thing we can't predict." Zoran looked out across the dark expanse of space, his mind working through the possibilities. "We will turn their greatest strength against them. We will break their unity, make them question their ability to fight back. Once that happens, they will crumble." On Earth, Commander Caldwell watched as military installations scrambled to adjust, the hum of activity never ceasing. The Ksharn were preparing for something devastating, and he could feel it in his gut. Whatever was coming would not be like the last assault. "Parker, what's the status?" Caldwell asked. "Intel suggests that the Ksharn are regrouping, but their next move is still unclear. We can't predict it, but we need to be prepared for a surprise." Caldwell clenched his jaw. He knew the Ksharn weren't done. They'd hit Earth with everything they had last time, and they'd back with even more this time. But humanity had learned something valuable: how to fight together, how to become a collective force that even the Ksharn could not easily overcome. And now it was time to build on that strength. He turned to the screen showing Earth's forces gathering, fighters, bombers, and warships ready to engage. The human spirit would not back down. "We fight for each other," he muttered. "We fight for Earth." In the distance, as the first tremors of a new Ksharn strike began to ripple through the stars, one thing became certain: the battle between Earth and the Ksharn was far from over. The fight for the galaxy was just beginning, and humanity had only just begun to show its true strength. The aliens might have underestimated them once, but they would never make that mistake again. As the war escalated, humanity's resolve would only grow stronger, and every day that passed brought them closer to something that the Ksharn would never see coming. Their unity, their willpower, their courage. The galaxy was about to learn that nothing could break humanity, and as long as Earth stood, the fight would never end. The unseen counterattack. Zoran paced back and forth in the war room of the Ksharn flagship, his thoughts clouded by the series of failures. He had underestimated humanity once, and now the consequences were mounting. The humans had struck back with a force that he could not ignore. Earth's unexpected surge of resistance had not only surprised him, but had forced him into a defensive position. Their unrelenting willpower had shaken the very core of the Ksharn Empire. "We need to break them now, before they grow stronger," Zoran said, his voice sharp, tinged with frustration. "We cannot allow them to rebuild their strength." Shara, his second-in-command, stood beside him, analyzing the data streaming in from the battlefront. "The human spirit is indeed their greatest weapon, but their strength is not infinite. We know their weaknesses. We will strike at their homes, their families, their hearts." Zoran nodded. He knew that humanity's greatest strength, its unity and will, could also be its greatest vulnerability. The Ksharn had already begun planning a targeted strike that would aim to fracture that unity. If they could break the human spirit, then the war would be over before it truly began. Back on Earth, Commander Caldwell and his team were racing against time. Despite their victory, despite the temporary retreat of the Ksharn fleet, the threat was far from over. Humanity had won one battle, but Zoran's forces would not stay down for long. They had to act fast. Caldwell stood in the command center, staring at the monitors as information poured in from across the planet. "We need to prepare for the next phase," he said to his officers. "The Ksharn are not like the other enemies we faced. They're relentless." Lieutenant Parker looked up from his terminal. "We know their tactics now. We can't just sit back and wait for them to make the first move. We need to strike back hard." Caldwell turned to Parker. "What do you have in mind?" Parker's expression hardened. "We've been gathering intel on their fleet movements. We've identified several weak points. Flanks we can exploit. But we'll need everything we've got. This will be our final push." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Charn Empire was preparing for its next move. Zoran had ordered his fleet to gather, to prepare for the next onslaught. But this time, there would be a twist. The Charn would not simply rely on firepower alone. They had a new strategy, one designed to break humanity's spirit and turn the tide of the war in their favor. Zoran addressed his commanders in the war room, his voice cold and calculating. "We will strike at their homes, at their very hearts. The humans think they are invincible, that their willpower will protect them. But we will show them the cost of defiance." The Charn had been studying humanity, learning about their society, their culture. They knew that Earth was a planet of families, of communities. Striking at the core of humanity's unity could break them. And that was precisely what they intended to do. Back on Earth, the stakes were becoming clearer with every passing hour. Caldwell's team knew that the next move from the Charn would be even more dangerous than the last. The Charn were cunning, calculating, and they had the advantage of experience. But humanity had something that the Charn couldn't predict: sheer, unyielding will. Caldwell stood before a holographic map of the planet. "We'll have to fight smarter, not harder," he said. "The Charn are going to come for our families, our homes. We can't let them divide us. We must fight as one." The unity of humanity was their greatest strength, their ability to come together, to form a collective force in the face of overwhelming odds, had already proven to be their most effective weapon. Caldwell knew that this battle wouldn't be won with weapons alone. It would be won through courage, through a shared will to survive and protect everything that humanity held dear. As the Charn fleet closed in on Earth, their weapons primed and ready, humanity's defense forces prepared for the inevitable clash. They knew what was coming, and they would not back down. Every citizen, every soldier, every leader had one thing on their mind: survival. In the midst of the gathering storm, Commander Caldwell took a deep breath. His heart was heavy with the weight of what was to come, but there was no turning back now. The Charn had underestimated humanity once, and they wouldn't make that mistake again. "We fight for Earth. We fight for the future," he whispered to himself. The Charn's fleet dropped out of hyperspace, their ships looming ominously above Earth. This was it, the final confrontation. The fate of humanity, of the galaxy, rested on this single moment. But as the Charn prepared to launch their attack, they encountered something unexpected. Humanity, in all its might and unity, had brought something to the table that even the Charn couldn't have anticipated: an unbreakable resolve. The fight was no longer about superior firepower or advanced technology. It was a battle of wills. And humanity was ready to win. As the first shots were fired, the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. Would humanity rise to the challenge once again? Or would the Charn prove that no force could withstand their relentless assault? The answer would soon be revealed. The final stand. The skies above Earth darkened as the Charn fleet descended, their massive warships casting long shadows across the cities below. Humanity had never faced an enemy like this, an empire that had conquered countless worlds, a force that knew no mercy. The stakes had never been higher, and the moment had finally arrived. Commander Caldwell stood at the helm of humanity's united forces, his heart pounding in his chest. The battle was about to begin, and the fate of the planet, and perhaps the entire galaxy, lay in his hands. The soldiers under his command were prepared, but it wasn't just their training or weapons that would carry them through this fight. It was their resolve. Around him, the walls of the command center hummed with the sounds of tactical officers coordinating the defense. But even in this frantic chaos, Caldwell's mind was focused. He knew that the Charn would come in full force, their ships equipped with devastating firepower. But humanity had something more than technology on their side. They had the spirit of survivors. Every soldier, every civilian, Every leader was ready to lay down their life to protect their home. "Ready the fleet," Caldwell ordered. His voice was calm but resolute, despite the storm of emotions raging within him. "Today we fight not for survival alone, but for our future." The Exharn fleet had positioned itself over the planet, their weapons primed. Zoran, standing on the bridge of the flagship, surveyed the human defenses below. His enemies had surprised him once, and now he was determined to crush their spirit. It was time to strike. "Launch the attack," Zoran commanded. With a deafening roar, the Exharn warships unleashed their weapons, sending streams of destructive energy toward Earth. The beams lit up the sky, a terrifying display of power. However, humanity was not unprepared. The Earth's defenses had been reconfigured, and as the first blasts from the Exharn ships hit, the planet's shields flared to life, absorbing the incoming fire. But the human forces knew that they couldn't rely on shields forever. Time was running out. On the ground forces began their own battle. Humanity's best warriors, soldiers from every nation, had assembled to repel the Exharn forces. The first wave of Exharn soldiers, ruthless and battle-hardened, stormed down to Earth, but they were met by the unyielding force of Earth's own warriors. The battlefield became a chaotic scene of destruction. The human forces, fighting with a fury that came from the depths of their souls, clashed with the Exharn invaders. For every alien they faced, there was a human warrior ready to stand in their way. It was not just a battle of weapons, but a battle of wills, and humanity was determined to win. Back in space, Commander Caldwell's voice crackled over the comms to the rest of the fleet. "We have one shot at this. Focus all firepower on their command ship. If we can take it down, we break their command structure. We win. We fight for Earth, and we fight for our future." The Exharn flagship, the towering heart of their invasion, remained impervious to most human attacks, its shields flickering with each blast. But Caldwell was undeterred. He knew that the shield's strength was finite, and he would find a way to exploit it. As the battle raged on, the humans pushed back. Every shot fired, every defense activated, was a testament to their resilience. Each explosion that rang through the air fueled their determination. They were fighting for the lives of their families, their children, and their future. Inside the Exharn command ship, Zoran's patience was beginning to wear thin. His fleet had been hammered by the unexpected human resistance. The battle was not going as planned, and he knew that if they didn't act soon, the humans would pull off the impossible once again. "Activate the secondary weapon," Zoran ordered. "We will destroy their fleet with one blow." The secondary weapon was humanity's worst nightmare. A massive energy beam designed to cripple any defense. If the Exharn fired it, the Earth's shields would not stand a chance. Caldwell's worst fears had come true. But just as Zoran's flagship began charging its secondary weapon, something unexpected happened. The human fleet, despite the overwhelming odds, had been regrouping. With unprecedented precision, they launched a final counterattack. The ships broke through the Exharn defenses, racing towards the flagship with unmatched speed and determination. Commander Caldwell, now on the front lines, locked eyes with the tactical officer. "Focus everything on their central core," he ordered. "We end this now." The attack was precise, calculated, and brutal. The concentrated firepower from the human fleet targeted the weak points in the Exharn flagship's shields. The Exharn commanders watched in shock as the shield's energy levels began to drop, their secondary weapon unable to charge in time. It was a gamble, but humanity's resilience had paid off. With one final, resounding explosion, the Exharn flagship was crippled. The mighty vessel that had once instilled fear in the galaxy was now a burning husk in space. The human forces, although battered, had succeeded. They had overcome the seemingly impossible. On Earth, the battle continued, but the tide had turned. The Exharn forces, disoriented and demoralized by the destruction of their command ship, began to retreat. The unity and sheer willpower of humanity had proven stronger than the might of the Exharn Empire. "Commander Caldwell," Standing before his people, couldn't help but feel a deep sense of pride. "We did it," he whispered. "We showed them what humanity is capable of." The battle was over. The Ksharn had been defeated, but the scars of the conflict would remain. Earth had survived, but it had also been forever changed. The galaxy would never forget the day when humanity stood strong in the face of annihilation. And won. The legacy of Earth's final stand would live on, a testament to the indomitable will of humanity, a force that no enemy could break. The dawn of a new era. The battle was over. The smoke of the conflict had yet to dissipate, but Earth had emerged victorious. The once feared Ksharn Empire, their forces crushed and their flagship lying in ruin, retreated into the depths of space. Humanity had done the impossible. The invaders who had come to subjugate them were now nothing more than a memory, a dark chapter in history. The atmosphere on Earth was heavy with relief and grief in equal measure. Victory was sweet, but the cost had been immense. Countless lives had been lost, both on the battlefield and in the cities that had felt the brunt of the invasion. Yet, despite the destruction, something greater had emerged from the ashes of this war: humanity's resolve. Commander Caldwell stood amidst the wreckage in the command center, his uniform stained with the dust of battle. Around him, his team worked tirelessly to assess the damage, repair systems, and begin the difficult process of rebuilding. Though the war had been won, the true work was just beginning. He paused for a moment, allowing himself to reflect on the journey. It had started with an unthinkable invasion, with the odds stacked impossibly high against them. The Ksharn had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and overcome. They had believed that their overwhelming strength would break the spirit of the people on Earth, but they had not anticipated the power of unity, the power of human will. Humanity's resilience had turned the tide of the war. It wasn't just the technology or the strategic brilliance that had won the day. It was the unyielding courage of every individual who fought, who sacrificed, and who believed in the dream of a free world. "Sir, the last of the enemy ships have retreated into hyperspace," one of his officers reported, pulling Caldwell from his thoughts. Caldwell nodded, but his gaze was distant. "They'll be back. They'll regroup, and they'll try again. We must be ready." He knew that the Ksharn would not forget their defeat easily. The galaxy was a vast place, and there were always new threats lurking in its darkest corners. Humanity had made its mark, but they had no illusions about the future. They had won this battle, but the war for their survival was far from over. Across Earth, celebrations erupted in cities and towns that had once been under siege. The world had come together in a way it never had before. Countries that had been divided, cultures that had been separated, now stood united. The invasion had not only strengthened humanity's resolve, but had also forged new bonds between nations. It was a time of healing, but also of preparation. The leaders of Earth gathered to discuss the next steps for rebuilding their shattered world. The victory over the Ksharn was a momentous achievement, but it had brought with it new responsibilities. The galaxy was a vast and dangerous place, and Earth could no longer afford to stand idly by. "We can't return to the way things were," President Adams said, addressing the council. "The Ksharn were just the beginning. There are more out there, more threats, and we need to be ready." He turned to Commander Caldwell, who stood silently among the other military leaders. "What do you suggest, Commander?" Caldwell knew what was coming. It was a decision that had to be made, but it was not one he relished. The victory over the Ksharn had come at a high price, and the thought of sending humanity back into the fray of intergalactic warfare weighed heavily on him. "We need to build an alliance," Caldwell said, his voice steady but firm. "We can't face the threats of the galaxy alone. We need to find those who would stand with us, those who share our will to survive. Earth cannot fight this war alone. We must reach out." He paused, his mind working through the possibilities. "I suggest we reach out to the other species we've encountered in the past. The galaxy is vast, and if we stand alone, we'll be wiped out." The council nodded. The days of isolation were over. Humanity was no longer just a small earthbound species. They were players in a much larger game, and they would need allies if they were to survive. In the aftermath of the war, Earth had become a beacon of hope. The legend of humanity's victory over the Exharn spread across the galaxy. Other species, once indifferent or even hostile to Earth, began to take notice. Some saw humanity's strength and resilience as a sign of potential allies, while others feared the rise of such a powerful force in the galaxy. One thing was certain: Earth had changed. The seeds of the future were being sown in the ruins of the war. It was not a future free of challenges, but it was a future filled with possibility. Humanity had faced down an impossible enemy, and now they would chart their course among the stars. Commander Caldwell stood on the observation deck of a newly rebuilt space station, gazing out at the stars. The battle had been won, but the war for the galaxy was just beginning. New threats would rise, but humanity was no longer the underdog. With the strength of unity, the power of will, and the courage to face whatever lay ahead, humanity was ready to face the challenges of the stars. The galaxy would never forget the day when Earth stood alone against the might of the Exharn and emerged victorious. The legend of Earth's resilience would echo throughout the galaxy for generations to come, and humanity would ensure that it was a force to be reckoned with. The future of the galaxy had just begun, and Earth was ready to face whatever came next.